I absolutely love our DTDT coaches, but I really just love the minds of these just dope humans that I have the luxury of working with. Now, what I am really excited about is that we get to continue one of my favorite topics, and it's events. For the person who's trying to move their products and services faster, if you're like, man, I really need to sell these things faster, I want a more secure way to move my items without being crazy salesy, or more importantly, having to train tons of salespeople to do something I already don't like, events is the way to go. I can attribute millions, and I mean millions upon millions of dollars simply inside of my own willingness to gather people, to gather the people them, to gather them all, put them into a place where I get to be the leader and more importantly, the authority. I have the luxury of teaching in some capacity or presenting the material that they're going to be taught. And then at the end of the experience, I ask for a next step, a call to action. You'd be surprised how easy it is to build an event. But here's what I love about what Matt's about to do. I want you to know that this is not really a conversation about, well, what kind of an event do I build? This is really a conversation of what kind of an experience could I have? Or what kind of an experience could I create for the perfect person, for the person who I know needs the solution that I have to offer? Our very own DTDT coach and, more importantly, awesome human USA, Matt Gil, is going to spend this episode schooling both you and me on the how. How do you create a dope experience that allows people to want and fight for more of whatever it is that you're giving to them through live events?
We've got everybody here. We're going to get started. We're going to be talking about events. What I love is we're going to continue the conversation that we started, and I want to know what are some of the questions that you have around events. So I've got my agenda. One of actually, when we talk about creating impact and being disruptive. So one of the things that I am known for in my social media posts and how I get people's attention is by being disruptive, by things that I say, by things that I do. And there's a picture that I took over the summertime, last summer, during COVID and during the lockdown. And it's me, shirtless in shorts, some short shorts that I got. I ordered them. They came from China. I thought I got the right size. Apparently they were shorter than I thought. But I had my legs, I can't do it here, but I kind of had my legs like this, like crossed over, and my arms like this with the camera kind of hanging down, angling up, coming from down and up. The angle of it actually looks like I'm naked. I wasn't naked. I had shorts on there. But I posted about putting yourself out there. And it was probably one of the most commented posts in there because it was disruptive. Number one, I don't normally hang out with my clothes off publicly. And yet the message was allowing myself to be seen, allowing myself to put myself out there in a way that was disruptive. The number one thing that you want to do when you're creating any type of post is you want to stop the scroll. Write those words down. Stop the scroll. In a space that is overly crowded, in a space that everybody is on their phone, people are going like this and just scrolling through their phone. And they're looking for words, they're looking for pictures, they're looking for something. Your responsibility is to get them to stop that scroll. The number one way to do that is by being disruptive. Write that down. Be disruptive. You be disruptive with your hook. Your hook is a short statement. It's a comment. It's a question. It could be a photo. It's something that gets them to stop in the moment. Because the moment you can get them to stop, the algorithm is paying attention to, wait a minute, hold on. They're going to look to see how often do people stop at your particular post. one of the, I will often ask a question to get people into their minds immediately. I start my videos. I'll tell you one of my biggest pet peeves when I see people's video is when they start their video and they say, you know what, okay, I'm gonna wait for just a few minutes and I'm gonna wait for more people to come in and to get started. Guess what? If when I hear somebody say, I'm gonna wait a few minutes, I've moved on. I'll come back, maybe. The minute I go live, I start directly with my hook. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Like if failure wasn't an option. The minute I ask a question, I immediately got you in your head. You're thinking for a moment. I disrupted your pattern of scrolling. I disrupted your pattern of thinking. You want to be disruptive with your content. Then you want to keep your people by creating a tease. Your tease is a short elaboration of your hook. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? That's the hook. If failure wasn't an option, if you could do anything, be anybody, go anywhere, what would you do? That's a tease. I'm elaborating a little bit more on the hook. Just like when you go out fishing, you throw your line out and you bait them and you pull them in. Your hook captures them. Your tease is reeling them in. And then you jump into your content. Your content should have at least a minimum of 3 points. 3 things that you're teaching, 3 things that you're saying. My formula that I teach when I teach Stop the Scroll is 2 points, 2 bullet points, a story, and then your final point. 2 pieces, 2 bullet points, a story again, and then your final point. 2, story, 1. If I don't have 3 points, then I do content, story, content. Content, story, content. You're going to go from your head to your heart, your head to your heart. Your content is what you're teaching. That's all the head stuff. The story connects with the heart. When people are watching a video that I post, when people are reading something a post that I wrote or an email that I'm sending out, my job is to take you on a ride. My job is to get you onto the ride and continue that ride all the way through. And how do I do that? By content, story, content. The 4th piece of Stop the Scroll is a call to action or a call to service. I don't know who needs to hear this, but somebody needs to hear this today. And if that's you, then I want to invite you to step a little closer. Somewhere on this page is a link for you to. Today I want you to ... whatever that is. I'm giving you something to do. You hear Tiffany do it. You hear me do it all the time. You want to train your audience to take action with you. Call to action or call to service. It may be click the button, it may be click the link, or it may simply be, listen, I want you to reach out to somebody that you haven't talked to in a long time today. Let them know that you see them. I want you to take the time to go for a walk and spend some time. You're giving them something to do. It could also be sometimes that you're giving them some directive of, I want you to, in the comments below, let me know ... The idea is once you have them, you want them to keep them and you want them to get into action. The fifth and final piece to that is your close. You should have some type of signature close, some way that you close off when you're teaching. Mine, you've heard me say, whether it be an email or in video. I want you to know that I see you. I love you. I appreciate you. And I'm your brother in the journey. I leave people in their heart. Unless I piss them off, unless I'm getting them to go to something else, my job is I want them to remember me. You know, the one thing that I know the most is that we never get our time back. And so I want to thank you for investing in this time, for taking the moments to watch this video or to read this email. Makes sense? That's when I see you nodding your head. Yeah. I want you to remember me. Maya Angelou says, that they will remember how you made them feel versus, I don't remember the exact quote, but it's about they'll remember how you made them feel versus what you said. And that feel can be a good thing, as in you pissed them off. Could also be that you left them in a moment of, If that makes sense, I want you to put inside the chat, got it. Stop the scroll. That wasn't really what I was originally going to teach, but I saw a comment in there and somebody needed to hear that. That is the formula right there to get people to pay attention to you more. Yes, you won't remember what someone says, but you'll remember how they made you feel. Thank you, Michelle. Perfect. The more that you're putting content out there that's going to grab their attention, you're developing your relationship. So when you make your offer for your event, when you invite them to take action with you, they already feel like they're connected with you. One of the reasons why Tiffany has such a high conversion rate is because people know her story. People feel connected to her. Thank you, Hallie. Number 1, be disruptive with the hook. Photo, phrase, short, sweet. Your hook is literally less than 5 words. The second piece is your teaser. Your teaser is 1 or 2 sentences that is an elaboration of your hook. Your third is your content. What are you teaching? Those are your bullet points. Content, story, content. Fourth is your call to action, call to service. You got it. And 5 is your close. Leave them in their heart, leave them in a space, or do your signature close. I become very disruptive with my videos. What I appreciate the most is that people are like, they wait to see what is Matt going to do now. I do a mixture of a long post, short post. I do short videos. I do long videos. I do videos where I'm literally like up close right by the camera and it's like right on my face. I do other ones where I'm pulled back. I've done videos when I'm in complete darkness and all you hear is my voice. It's disruptive, but the content is good and people know that they expect that from me. I've trained my audience that way. I want you to begin to think about your event as not an event, but more of an experience. Event equals experience. When you think of the event, when you think of the experience, what do you want them to see? What do you want them to smell? What do you want them to feel? What do you want them to remember? You do all of the work to gather the people into one particular place, whether that be virtual, whether it be live, or a mixture, and then you take them through an experience. What is the experience that you want them to remember? If you were to come to a Matt Gil event, there's always going to be music. There's always going to be dancing. You're going to laugh. There's going to be some moments that I'm going to be touching your heart and I'm going to pull at your heartstrings. I'm going to make you feel stuff. But the most important thing at anything that I do is I want you to feel seen. You know what? I was telling Isai the other day that as I begin to dream bigger, a lot of the dreams and the things that I had as a child are beginning to come to fruition. When I was a young kid, I had a dream, and in this dream, I had a conversation with God. And I was asking God some questions, and I was like, Lord, I said, I want to do ... And he stopped me for a moment, and he said, he said, here. And he gave me a notebook. And I vividly remember this notebook and going through the pages and turning the pages of this notebook and seeing particular pictures. And he said, this is your life. One of the very first moments that I remember of kind of where I am now and what I remember seeing, I was on my way to a speaking event in LA. And it was the very first time that I was hired where they took care of everything. They put me up in a hotel. They had car service that was coming to pick me up. I had somebody who was there to kind of manage me and get me to where I was supposed to go. And as I was getting into the back of the Escalade, I remember the Escalade because the Escalade has been on my vision board for a long time. I realized, for those of you guys that don't know, I don't like to drive. I don't drive. I sold my car when I came out here because I was like, I'm moving to a place where I don't necessarily need a car. Uber and Lyft are around. My contracts all have car service and part of what I do. I just don't like driving. And as a kid, I remember saying that when I grow up, I'm going to be chauffeured. Now, in my mind, I thought I was going to be Tom Cruise and have a limousine take me everywhere. And God's like, okay, listen, we're not there yet, but we're getting there. So as I created my vision board, I was like, I'm going to put this Escalade, which is now a Yukon, because I kind of like the Yukons better now, but this Escalade on my vision board. And I realized that I needed to go through and not only just put the Escalade, but I needed to put a driver. So I found a picture of a very handsome man and put him inside right next to the Escalade, so that way I could have a handsome driver driving me around. So I'm getting into this Escalade in LA, and I get into the back seat, and they said, Mr. Gil, can we get you anything to drink? And it was a moment that it took me back to that book, that notebook of seeing the moment of what that vision was that God showed me, and I thought, wow. First time I stepped onto a stage of 15,000 people, scared out of my mind, about ready to take stage. And as I walked on the stage and I heard the applause of the audience, I remember that notebook, and I remember flipping the pages and seeing that exact vision and thinking, wow. Yesterday, you're going to hear a little bit about, at some point, a field trip that we took. Yesterday, I had that moment again. Wembley. You hear us talk about Wembley. Wembley is that moment. Wembley is what's still to come. It's a massive event. Huge event. Stadium. 60,000 people. With music. With lights. I want fireworks. I want people to be, yes, 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 yes. Butterflies like, yes to the fireworks, right? Like I want production. I want huge because I want people to see, I want people to have fun, but I want people to see what's possible. I want people to know the journey. And this is why telling your story and showing the journey is so important, especially as you're building up to your event, of telling your story, of telling the moments, because it makes the moment when you're actually at the event and you're on the stage that much more palatable for the people that are watching, because they've been on the journey too. They have been with you. They've invested in you. They've invested in your feeling, and your success is their success. Part of why you feel so connected to Tiffany or myself or to Jarika or Anna. Hello, hello. If you can put yourself on mute. Perfect. The reason why you feel so connected is because you hear us telling our story, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The days when things are going really good and the times things are falling apart. The times when we're sitting there like, ugh, the heck is going on? The WTF moments. Which makes the moments when we get to Wembley that much more delicious. For those of you guys that are in the moments right now of beginning to plan your event, Kathleen Panning, grab your phone and begin to record right now when you're at home and you're sitting there. The other day we were having a team meeting here talking about something that we're doing, and I just put the recording on a tripod and just allowed to record the conversation because I want to tell the story of what it took for us to get there. We too often look at where somebody is and we think, we don't see the behind the scenes of what it took to get into that moment. You have one of the most powerful tools in your hand called a phone that has a video camera. Right now, take your phones out. And I want you to go to your phones. And I want you to look at your photos and tell me inside of the chat, how many photos do you see inside of your photo folder? First, photos. How many photos do you have in your phone? 5,558, 293. 894 videos, perfect. Butterfly, 5,732. $56,000, yes. Android users are probably still trying to search. That's all right. 204 videos, perfect. Okay, Antoinette says 659. I had to delete some, perfect. Sharon, 8,000, yes. Butterfly, 717 selfies. All right, that's all right. That's good. 2,392 photos, 294 videos. Yes, Kathleen. So, in my photos, I have 44,914 photos. Michelle, 30,000. Yes. Videos, I have 4,875. Rowena, where do I find the total? Do you have a iPhone? Yes, you do. Okay, perfect. Go to your photos, which looks like that up there, that one right there. And then when you click on it, it should take you, if you click on where it says albums at the bottom. And then it begins to give you what your numbers are. If you have an Android, I can't help you. I'm sorry. I don't know. Maybe it says go buy an iPhone. Don't know. You should be taking pictures and videos all the time. I have a majority of these photos I probably will never use, but I did say that out loud. That was my inside voice on the outside. Yes. Coach Jackie, tell your husband that your coach said you need to get an iPhone. Period. Just today. Today. Although I do have, never mind. 98,000. Yes. Delzenia. You never know when you can use that content. I just posted a reel last night. If you go to my Instagram or you go on TikTok, I'm doing a test just to kind of see algorithms and see what's going on. I posted a video of Benji. Benji, I got to dog sit for a couple days, and Benji and I went through a period where we had to learn how to get along with each other and learn each other's ways, learn what he could do and what he couldn't do. He wasn't allowed on my bed at first. He won. Let's just be honest. He won. He got to come up on the bed and snuggle. But at first he knew that he wasn't allowed in the bed. And so I posted a reel of him. It's funny. You got to go and watch it if you get a chance. But that video was from months ago. And I still am able to use it. What kind of dog is Benji? Benji is a poodle Shih Tzu mix. Cutest dog. He looks so cute, but you do not want to mess with him because he will rough you up. Cutest dog ever, though. Let's see. Look at this. I have him. Show you real quick. This was us taking a little nap together. I don't know if you can see him. Can you see him? I don't know if you can see that all right. There he is. Yeah, I didn't want him on my couch at first. Didn't want him on me. He done broke me down. And there he is. By our second day together, he was in bed with me, right at my feet. Yep. Little sucker got my heart. But I used that content from months ago in a post recently. It happens, yep. You should be taking video and photos all of the time. Inside of your Google Photos, you can create folders, and I'm sure you can hopefully maybe do this with Android as well. But I have folders in my phone. One of my folders is called Story. And anything that has to do with my story, whether it be stages that I've been on, whether it be trips that I'm going on, whether it be moments of frustration or moments of aha, anything that is going to help tell my story, my journey, old photos that I've taken from when I was a kid. Yesterday, I did a Facebook Live of two photos that I found for me in elementary school, in 3rd grade and in 6th grade. I took pictures of the photos, and I have them in my story folder so that I can use that to tell my story. I talk about my 3rd grade teacher and how miserable I was in 3rd grade. 3rd grade is when you learn your multiplication, and I hate math. When it comes to numbers, I freeze up. Words and speaking, I can do that all day. But when it comes to math and numbers, which is why when it comes to taxes and bank accounts and things like that, I'm like, I stress out. I have to push and challenge myself to move through. Yep. But my third grade teacher, she told me, I remember asking a question, and I was always the fourth desk back in the middle, fourth desk back, and I raised my hand on something, and she told me, she said, that's one of the dumbest questions I've heard. Third grade teacher. And I remember thinking to myself, then I'm not going to ask any more questions because I didn't want to look dumb. I was already feeling different. I was already feeling like I was extra. I was going to a private Christian school. Now, I knew that I was different, but I didn't know what different meant. That makes sense? For me, I didn't know what gay meant. I just knew I was different. For other people, it could be feeling different looks different. For me, I just knew that there was something about me that wasn't the same as everybody else. I didn't operate the same. I didn't feel the same. I love being in front of people. Listen, I feel more comfortable being in front of a camera behind a microphone or in front of an audience than I do in my own living room by myself. I love being in front of people. I love the gift of gab. My third grade teacher, again, Mrs. Sharn, told me I talk too much. She also told me that I wouldn't be, that I needed to learn math and my multiplication because I wouldn't be walking around with a calculator in my pocket. Ha! Little does she know, I've got a phone now that has a calculator and I get paid to talk. What? Come on, Miss Sharn, what? So, one of the pictures, though, that I posted yesterday was, ironically, my mom actually kept a picture of me in third grade, and of all the teachers that I have, it's Mrs. Sharn. So I posted that yesterday because yesterday was National Teachers Appreciation Day. When you think of content, when you think things are coming up, what are things that are on the calendar that you can share your story with? Write that down. You should be looking at national events, international events, things that are happening around the world that you can do what I call news jacking. Write that down, news jacking. What's happening in the media? Then how does your story play in with what's going on? News jacking. You're jacking the news. Jacking. News jacking. How does your story, you're welcome, how does your story play into that? How do you use that? So yesterday was National Teachers Appreciation Day. I shared parts of my story. The fact that I didn't feel like I was seen, the fact that I felt like I was different. And I challenged people to rise up and be careful with their words, especially if they're a teacher, an educator, or a coach. I talked about the power of words. And then I showed my pictures. You want to have your resources in your phone so that you can use. Thank you, Dr. T. All of these pieces lead up to how you collect your people so that when you make your offer for your event, they feel connected to you and it's an easier yes. That is part of the experience. They experience you. They've been getting a taste of you. How do you talk? Why do you do videos? Because there are times that I can write out a long post. And because people have heard me enough, they're familiar with my tone, they're familiar with my humor. When they read my writing, they hear my voice. That's what you want your audience to do. You want your audience to hear you as you are reading or as they are reading. The only way to do that is to give them the video footage or the audio footage if you're doing podcast. They need to experience you. Newsjacking.com, is that something? Is that real? I've never heard of that website, but it may be. It's all about the experience. The experience begins the moment as you're telling your story. When you think about your event, I want you to think about, Clemmy says, my students said that they heard me in their head during their exams. Exactly. Why? Because they're listening to you. They hear you. Yeah, I've heard somebody say newsjacking and I loved it. That's not my original. I didn't know it was a website. Now I'm going to have to check out to see what it is, but you want people to experience you. So I want you to think about your event and what are your 5 W's? Who is your event for? Who is your event for? What is the event about? AKA, what are you teaching? Is it education? Is it a personal development? Is it a fulfillment event? Meaning somebody buys something and now all you're doing is fulfilling. Is it a sales event? One of the models that you see us do quite often and we teach inside of Boss is about doing master classes and then in a free event, which you guys saw us do here when we did the free preview. We did the free preview on YouTube, one, so that we have content. Now, I'm going to give you the behind the scenes. Is it okay real quick if I pull the curtain behind so you guys know what we did on the back end over here? Are you guys good with that? Okay. So if you look at this particular event, we did a $1 low tier to get people to say yes. Now, YouTube gives a free access. Anybody can watch. By us going through and doing our free preview in YouTube, not only did we go through and we have the event and we're pulling in new people into this space to build our database, but what we also did was we created pieces of content that's going to live on. We have become more stumble uponable. Stumble uponable. Somebody type that in the chat. Stumble uponable. And you can be creative with the spelling of that. You want to be you want people to be able to find you. Andre's like, huh? Stumble uponable. You want people to be able to be searching and all of a sudden stumble upon you. Huh. Who's this Andre guy? Let me listen in. What is he saying? What's this guy about? You want people to accidentally find you. YouTube is a great place for that, to be stumble uponable. TikTok is a great place to be stumble uponable. People are sharing that. People share a YouTube video. People share a TikTok video. Instagram, another great place to be stumble uponable. Instagram stories, great place to be stumble uponable. You want people to be able to find you and share you. Dalzenia says, Tiffany has been popping up since leaving Facebook. Yep, on YouTube, yes. Why? Because we're feeding YouTube a lot right now. Perfect, thank you. Give me 10 more minutes on the clock. Because I want to give you guys this before I put you out for lunch and to do some work. Where are you going to hold your event? So you have who's your event for, is the event about? Where are you going to hold your event? There are 3 types of events. There's live, which means you're in person, whether it be a conference room, a ballroom. You can be out inside in a park. It's live. People are around you. There's virtual, what we're doing here. Zoom, AirMeet, Remo. Live, virtual, and the third one is a hybrid. Hybrid events right now are going to be the way of the future. I have been in the event space. So for those of you guys that don't know, I've worked for a very well-known motivational speaker out in the world for 14 years. I started with the in teaching emotional literacy and emotional healthiness to youth and families. And as we began to move into the space of teaching people how to be better speakers, we realized the power of doing virtual events. And so we had about 300 people that were live, and I took over the virtual aspect. So it used to be somebody just in front of a camera, and they used to just go, hey, okay, we're gonna be right back, and send people to breaks and things like that. Then they realized my love for being in front of the camera and from being in front of behind a microphone. And they were like, Matt, do you want to take over our virtual? And I was like, heck yes. And I created, in my mind, it was the Matt Gil show, really, truly. And I thought, what entertains me? What do I like? What is true to Matt Gil? Key question that I had to ask myself. What's true to me? I want you to write that down. What's true to me? When they get you, Coach Jackie, what did they get? Antoinette, when they get you, what did they get? Are you entertaining? Are you smooth and calm? Are you the party starter? Are you like, well, who are you? What did they get when they get you? I created the Matt Gil show. I have always loved when you see award shows and they show the behind the scenes. You see like the Grammys or the Academy Awards. I've always loved red carpets. I love the interview pieces of leading up to the big event. And so when I took over live stream, Maddie said I'm the Energizer Bunny. Yes. Antoinette says I'm hyper and active when they see me, and I want them to feel my heat, my vibe, my energy. No sleeping. Yes. So I love the pre-show, and I love behind the scenes. And so in my virtual event, when I took over virtual, instead of it starting 5 minutes before, I said I want the pre-show to start 30 minutes before. And I had our camera go remote inside of the audience, and I would interview people, and I would take them around, and I would take the camera crew, and I had my microphone. Look, they were teasing me yesterday because Tiffany was like, I got a gift for you. Hold on. Whoops. And it was this microphone. And I would walk around, and I would start talking to people, and I would interview. I love that. Thank you. Helen said I'm the king of virtual events. I've been doing this for almost 5 years now. Before virtual events were even popular, we would have 300 people that were in a room. Sharon was one of my facilitator supports. Sharon was right next to me. Sharon was in my room as I was getting up out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning so my face could wake up. Her responsibility was to keep me going. Thank you, Sharon. Sharon was the one that would run with me to the bathroom when I'd had to go pee and I had like literally 3 minutes. She would run with me. as we would go to the bathroom and then come back. She would stop people from the bathroom and be like, hold up, and then get me back on. She's my ride or die. What's my brand? I love that. Hallie's like, your shirt is funny. No, my shirt is on brand. Bold statements. For my clients, when I do other virtual events for other people, I talk about their shirts. One of them says, I make money in my underwear. They're copywriters. They're copywriters. And so their t-shirt says, I make money sitting in my underwear. That's what it is. I make money sitting in my underwear. It's a bold statement. Nope, not today, Karen. One of my favorite shirts. I wear that when I travel, specifically in the airports. Very intentional. I want to be disruptive. I want people to look at me. I want people to know that I'm in the airport. I want people to be like, It begins a conversation. Disruptive, yep. So what type of event do you want to create? Live, virtual, hybrid. When do you want to hold your first event? When do you think you want to hold your event? If you say anytime, perfect. Virtual as your first one, ASAP. Avis says a webinar on the 13th of May. Yes. Kathleen is coming into our studio here. We're going to do a virtual event, which is going to, workshop May 19th. Kathleen is going to be right here on this stage. Yes. Dr. T said, I did an event this morning. Yes, 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 Dr. T. I love it. And then why, the fifth question is, why are you having this event? So who's the event for? What is the event about? Where are you going to hold your event? When are you going to hold it? And why are you having it? It's the who, what, where, when, and why. It's your 5 W's. It's the woo-woo-woo-woos of events. All right. So here's the fun part. I want you guys to begin to dream, begin to create. Do you want a website to drive people to First Though? Do you need to have a website? No. You don't need to have a website in order to do an event. You could do a virtual event on Zoom. Zoom has registrations. Zoom, you could have people register. You can do an event on Eventbrite and invite people there, register there. Does a website look a little better and give some more information? Sure. Is it required? Nope. Ava says Eventbrite is awesome. I think when we come back from break, I'll talk about, see if we can bring into the agenda how I made my first $11,000 month. Some of you guys have heard me teach that. There's a model that we teach inside of Boss Collective. Those of you guys that are Boss Collective, you're going to learn that formula as well. I followed exactly what Tiffany told me to do, and I did it in 1 month. Focused. Starting from a free event and then worked my way all virtual during COVID, during the pandemic. Just trying to figure out where the stream should lead to. Yep. Zoom is probably the easiest, less technical way of doing things. Chantel says, I'm ready to have an event live on stage. Yes. You're going to get the most amount of impact when you do live. Hi, Mary, welcome. Glad you are here. When you are live, because they get to be in the room with you. But being on camera, making connection with people on camera is just as powerful, as long as you feel comfortable. You have to feel confident within yourself. At the age of 4 years old, I created what I called my IFC. IFC, my imaginary film crew. My imaginary film crew went with me everywhere I went. I would turn a pen or a marker or a stick or anything that I could, I'd turn it into a microphone and I'd pretend like I was talking to people. I'd be like, what's up, everybody? We're live right now here in the city of Phoenix doing this event, blah, blah, blah. And I just started talking to people. Yesterday, I was walking around before we even got started. So Tiffany brought in this microphone as a prop. She was like, here, I saw this and I thought of you. And I was walking around, even as we were talking with nobody. No, obviously, it's not connected. This is not a wireless mic. It needs to have a wire in there. But I was walking around talking to everybody. Isai, was sitting right behind the computer, as he was talking to me, I wouldn't let him talk until he had the microphone in his mouth. I've been doing that since I was 4 years old, but let me tell you the key. Because I've been doing that for so long and pretending to talk to people, I know how to connect with people on the other side of the camera. There's an intimacy that's created. I don't see the lens, I see your face. I feel your heart. When you look at your phone, don't look at yourself, but look at the lens. Make a connection. Coach Mary said this. Mary, come on now. You last night, when I saw your video, Mary, of you outside, come on. Mary is an epitome of doing the damn thing. Mary pushes herself every single day. I remember when she was like, I don't want to get on camera, and she was resistant. When I told her to get on camera, she gave me that look. She gave me that mama look. Look, she turned on her camera right now, right? She was like, no, I don't want to do that. Guess what? It's not about you. Stop making all of this shit up about you. Some of you guys are saying one thing and doing something else. The tongue in your mouth is not going in the direction of the tongue of your shoe. Some of you guys are saying, I want to make an impact. I want to touch people's lives. I want to do this, but yet you're walking a different way. You're saying one thing, but you're going in a different direction. You need to be congruent, which means you have to show up. Mary is the epitome of showing up, of doing it even in the face of being uncomfortable. That's how you're going to make a bigger impact. That's how you're going to get people to follow you more. That's how you're going to get people to take action. That's how you're going to push them forward when you tell them how uncomfortable you are about being on camera, but you're doing it anyway. So I want you to think about your event. What are you going to do? Who's it going to be for? And I want you to dream big.